fifth grade, today and this week we're going to be focused on one of my favorite things to do, gesture drawings. Gesture drawings are fantastic because they're quick little sketches that capture the spirit of a pose somebody's in. I'm going to be focused on two things in this. Figurative proportion, the size of things compared to other things, and really just trying to get the spine line and the hip line and shoulder lines in the right direction. So there's a lot of little hints and secrets to this. When we're in the classroom, you all take turns modeling on the tables and poses, and we do them really, really fast. They're fast drawings. They're usually from about 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and it's sort of like, think of them as, it's not quite stick figures, but just sort of capturing that essence of a pose that you're seeing somebody in. So let's talk for a second about some of the figurative proportions. We're all familiar with Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. Where he's got like all the arms and all the legs. And if you've ever made a snow angel, you've seen this, that we kind of have this circular wingspan. One of the common mistakes people do when they're drawing people is they make the legs and arms too short. Some other size relations we have is that your foot is the exact same size from your wrist to your elbow. Did you know this, Tavish? Go ahead, check it out. Should be the same. Generally, it looks like that can't be true because their feet are far away from us, so our perspective is that, oh, no, you know, they're not that long, but they are as long as this. And of course, there are sometimes, you know, when you're growing, sometimes it happens a little bit at different paces, but in general, that's a size relationship in your body. What we're going to be focused on in these drawings is the spine line, the hip line or pelvis line, and then the shoulder line. These are like our three lines that we're going to be focused on. And then I'll show you some tricks with foreshortening too. So all you're going to need is a sketchbook or your journals that you made, or some paper, and a pencil. Actually, a crayon works better so that you don't think about it too much. And you need some people or that are just moving around you. So any willing models, little brothers or sisters, parents, anyone who's willing to just sit there for a 2-minute sketch, and they don't even have to be paying attention to what you're doing. You can just go and sketch them. It's a fun thing to do. Keep in mind, your first drawings are probably going to look not so great. We do these as warm-ups through our whole figure unit in making comic books. And at first, everyone's like, oh, these are terrible. And then at the end, like in the middle, you start to see that they improve and they get better and better and better. So this is something I'm going to want you to practice all week long. All right, let's do it. Okay, so if we're going to just break down the human form into some simple shapes for the basis of these gesture drawings, this is what we're going to be working with. We want to start off with a head. We don't want it to be a big balloon head or a bubble. Okay.
Mine looks too much like a crazy circle.
No, that looks fine. And then we have...
Mine's going to be bigger because my paper is longer.
That's true. It's going to be in proportion. Alright, so then we need a spine line, kind of neutral spine.
But I'm not going to use up my space because I know I'm going to need some space down there.
Then we have a shoulder line right there. That's the clavicle line. And then
like
a pelvis line.
It's like the beginning of a stick person.
It is like the beginning of a stick person. Okay, you want to bring this over a little bit. Now we're going to draw kind of a stretched out, sort of ellipse oval shape.
Oh, and I can see that piece.
So that's representing, you know, our thigh, and then that's our patella.
Our legs were longer than just this.
Well, they are. You know, we tend to make people too short, but there are these two sections, just like this is like the hinge almost. For the feet, with feet going towards us, you just really need a triangle. That's gonna...
Look it. Mommy,
that.
did I do good?
You did. And then we're going to do sort of another triangle for the torso shape with another triangle going into it.
This is like starting the skeleton.
It is, but this is like putting the meat on it. And then the same thing for the arms are the two.
Why doesn't Mr. Bones have meat?
Because he's a skeleton. And we're going to actually build the muscles on him. This is sort of a crude way of making the shapes of the muscles, but we're going to learn the exact way later on. So these might, they might look familiar to you as those drawing models. Those drawing models are breaking us down into shapes, because all drawing is breaking down what we see into shapes. And later we can go in and work out the details. But all this practice, think of it as a warm-up to do these gesture drawings. So this is your static, neutral pose. And then we'll work with more dynamic poses and where people are in action shots or lying about. So little brothers and sisters are really helpful with this. If your parents are around and are just working, you don't really have to bother anybody to draw them. You're just kind of sitting there and doing these little 30-second to 1-minute drawings. Now if we want to take our gesture drawings and build them further, that's when we can kind of go around these. Oops.
Here, I'll have a broken one.
Oh, that's sweet of you, but it's alright.
Yeah. I'm just going to do those lines like squiggly. I'm going to do the lines. Look, I did the lines.
So then you have a person in perfect proportion.
Oh yeah! There's like little dotsies in there. Like little hard dotsies.
Let's also look at being able to indicate what way the head is facing with just a quick line. Whoop.
Do you have another paper? I want another paper.
There you go. So,
hey, but that's got your guy on it.
You just draw on the other side. So we've got heads looking in different directions.
I'm going to draw two people.
A quick line like this is looking up, looking down, and sort of a neutral. So very, very quick.
Look at this is my circle bended a little bit. See, look. Look at I did a circle, but you know how.
Okay, so we're going to start with a really simple one. I'll show you the really basic shapes we're going to use here. I'm not trying to do a portrait of him. I just want to capture the spirit of the pose he's in. Tavish, stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. Perfect. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get the head. People tend to make the heads too big on people. Remember, we're about 7.5 heads high. So we want to do the spine line. His spine is straight. So at the moment, it's just kind of a stick figure. And then we get his waistline. And his shoulder line is also parallel to that. We're going to use a triangle for his upper body and torso. Triangle overlap for his lower body. And then we're going to use 2 ellipses for each leg. An ellipse is just an oval or stretched out circle. And we're going to do the same for the arms. And remember, his arms are halfway down to his knees. We're just going to do a little diamond shape for his hands. And then what we also can do is any areas now where we want to go back and emphasize, we can go in. He's looking straight ahead, so we can do this with the head. And now we have a gesture drawing. It's capturing this pose, which we call a static pose. Now we're going to have him get into a dynamic pose. Let's see, Tavish. Do a pose like this. Tilt one hip up. Perfect. Stay just like that. And he's in his tracksuit. Tilt that hip up just a little bit more. He's in a tracksuit because we can see those kind of lines. There's his spine line. His pelvis line is tilting upwards, which in turn makes his shoulder line turn down. And so we have that kind of basic stick person. Really you want to look at the relationships between where things are. Like if I just look at the negative space between his feet, that gives us a sense of that this one is further back. He's shifted a little since we began, which is kind of a natural thing. People are going to do that. And because he's putting more weight in this hip and it's in front, we can make it. This is called economy of line. This one, where we did the spine line, can go all the way into his leg line. There we go. And we have a quick drawing that's a gesture of what he's doing. Tavish, make a crazy pose.
Okay.
That's perfect. So I've got head, shoulder line, spine line, which is curved. Looks like his pelvis line is up. And you know what? He's moved a little bit. And that's okay with his shoulder line. And then, Tev, you gotta stay still.
Oh man, I can't.
Because it was a tough pose. That's fine. And then, so we got this spine line curved, pelvis line tilted upwards, shoulder line. They are quick. So they're like, they're sort of like stick figures, but they're not, because we're taking that initial stick person and we're putting some meat on the bones. There's a little bit of foreshortening there. Okay, so in the pose we want a head. Make sure we don't make a big balloon head. Shoulder line, spine line, pelvis line's a little bit neutral, and then we're paying attention to the distance of the feet, and then where the arms are. We only see this much. And then if he's leaning into one side more, we can make it a little bit darker. Tavish, look down at the ground for a sec. We can also make a little line like that.
I see. Is that the stick?
Okay, so what we're going to work on right here is something called foreshortening, when the person is right at us. And we're going to actually spend probably one of these weeks working on foreshortening, but if you have some poses where it happens, just kind of play along with it. So I've got spine line is curved like that. This is foot. So pelvis line, shoulder line. And then I just see a little bit of the head. One of the challenges with foreshortening is that your eyes and what they see and what your brain knows are going to be at odds. Your brain is going to go, a leg looks like this, a foot looks like this, but it's not really what we're seeing. These are short poses. They should be capturing the spirit of the pose. Just kind of, if somebody looked at it, they could get into that same position. They're not portraits. So we're going to go around and look for a model to get a quick gesture drawing of. And we're going to give ourselves a little time limit. Good 60 seconds. We can even draw people who don't want to be bothered. Okay.
I'm You're drawing.
Do you want to go get your sketchbook up there? So even if somebody is just busy doing their own thing, you don't even have to bother them to get the gesture drawing in. Go. Shoulder line, spine line, pelvis line's kind of up like this.
I'm gonna make up my own pet person and see if I get it right.
And even if they're moving a bit, it doesn't really matter. We're quickly capturing the essence of the pose. Really, what your eyes see and what your brain knows. Don't be like, oh, this is what a head looks like, this is what an arm looks like. Draw the shapes you see. This is not a drawing that you have any time whatsoever to think about it. It's just reacting to the shapes. Gave ourselves about 60 seconds. And we're good.
Get in the post first with the camera. Camera post. And then Mama's standing right here.
Make sure you're looking at your model back and forth, so your paper to the model, back and forth, paper to model. The more you look at what you're looking at, the better your drawing will be.
Kind of looks a little bad, but...
No, but that's okay. These will look kind of wonky for a little bit. It's the practicing of them until you get a sense of it. But just like in baseball that you keep your eye in the ball, keep your eye in your subject. That's wonderful, Tabby. Here, bring it up.